Hey guys, welcome to your May paint tutorial for the nesting box project. This month we had a hanging flag project. It featured palette knife painting, which is what I'm going to show you today, 3D stars, and then the ripped fabric, what do I want to call them? I guess these would kind of be like the flag stripes at the bottom. So anyway, I'm going to show you how to do the palette knife painting today and how to rip and tie off your fabric. In the interest of time, because so many of you guys have been with me for so long, I have pre-painted my backer board as well as my white stars. So this month you did get a bottle of navy blue paint, the same size as the white and black that you already have. So hold on to that. When you're out of that, let me know, and then I'll send you some more. So far, this is the only tutorial that we've had that's included the navy blue, but I went ahead and sent it in a bottle because my goal is to really build up your collection of paints as we move forward so that we're not sending out so many little packets each month. So other than that blue that I sent you, the only other color you're going to use is your white that you received before. Remember, on your black, white, navy blue, and then your bottle of wood glue, let me know as you run out of those so that I can send you a refill bottle on your next shipment. Okay, and just a quick reminder in case, if you guys are watching this video, you are more than likely a member of the Nesting Box, which is our monthly DIY subscription box. Each month you receive a kit that you can utilize with written instructions as well as my video tutorial to create a project perfect for using in your home or gifting to someone. If you wouldn't mind, I would appreciate it very much if you guys would do this for us. We are a small handmade company located right here in Central Illinois, and this really is the best platform for us to be able to get the word out about our company, but we're kind of limited in how many people we can reach. So each time that someone watches our video, if they do this for us, that just allows us to increase the amount of people who see our video and are able to then learn about our small business. So we always appreciate if you can do this for us. And if you are interested or know anyone who's interested in joining the Nesting Box, we will be opening again in August for new members. It is a reoccurring monthly charge once you sign up until you cancel. You are welcome to cancel at any time, but whenever you re-sign up, you would sign up at whatever the rate is at that point. We will definitely be opening again in August, and that will be a bonus month with a great fall sign project, as well as 2 new tools that you'll be able to have in your arsenal for things to use in the future on projects. And I'll be teaching 2 new paint techniques in August as well. One of them is how to create a rust finish that is not only the look of rust, but has the textured feel of rust as well. The other is shadowing or shading with an angled paintbrush. So you'll receive 2 different brushes in August, just like this month you received your palette knife. Now, a palette knife is really just a fancy plastic knife. So we did run out of a few of our palette knives, and so a few of you got plastic knives in your kit. Just know that this paint technique can be done with a plastic butter knife, or you can go out and buy palette knives. I just got you guys plastic ones that can be washed and reused over and over and over again. But if you really get into palette knife painting, like entire pictures that you're painting with a palette knife, then I would suggest getting some nicer palette knives from Hobby Lobby or Michael's or Dick Blick's or whatnot that are metal and probably just they'll hold up a little bit better. But for now, this one will work for all future projects that you're going to do. So in this kit, you received your backer board, which you can go ahead and if you haven't done that yet, pause the video and paint this navy blue. You received your stars, and if you haven't done this yet, pause the video and go ahead and paint your stars white. You received twine to put on the hanger of your piece, and then 2 little squares of fabric. And I'm going to show you how to do these here in just a second. But the first thing that we're going to do, and I'm sorry, you also received your navy blue paint and your palette knife. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and do the palette knife painting, the white on this backer board, so that you are able to let that dry before we glue your white stars on. So we're going to go ahead and take this and move it. Palette knife painting is fun, but it is also just kind of random. You can go as light or as heavy as you want. If you are a perfectionist, this could be a difficult technique for you because there's nothing perfect about it. We're really trying to make it look very distressed, but much more so than we could do with sandpaper or a paintbrush, because when you drag that palette knife across, you really have the ability to get these darker sections, pick up the wood grain. I love the looks of this, but everybody has to kind of decide what they like, and that is what's great about this. If you want to practice palette knife painting, grab any piece of hard cardboard, grab a piece of scrap wood. If you don't have anything, turn your board over and practice on the back side where it doesn't really matter what you do with it. But I'm going to show you just some really easy techniques to use to add some dimension and some character to your piece. I don't know why, but for some reason, sometimes I have to put my hand under there to get that camera to focus. So, okay, this does not take much paint. Go ahead and pull out your white bottle of paint and put a little bit of paint on your aluminum foil, paper plate, newspaper, shipping paper, whatever you're going to use. The trick to palette knife painting is really just the amount of paint, which you hear me say this with a lot of different projects. You want to start off with a small amount of paint, start off with light strokes, and then decide what you like, and then you can go heavier from there. When I get the paint on my knife, I really just want to kind of try to get it on the edge of the knife. I don't want it all over the knife right to start with. We're going to scrape it, and so it will get on the knife, but you know, to just start, I want to start off with a small amount of paint. So I'm just going to get a small amount of paint on the side of my knife. You can go ahead and wipe it, you know, and add more if you want, whatever you're comfortable with until you think, you know, that you don't want glossy amounts of paint on there. Now, I find that the easiest way to start is to start on the edge. Put your palette knife on the edge and start pulling that paint in. Okay, I have very little paint on here. It's going to be kind of hard for you to see that from there. But I'm pulling it in until I get the feel of the strokes I want to use with my hands, okay? You're going to push down to get more paint on there. See how we start to get some on there? Now, go ahead and pick up some more paint. Go back to your edge. You can pull up along your edges if you want, and then start pulling across your board. When you pull, you'll need to take your finger and kind of push down on the palette knife or the plastic knife, whatever you're using, where you really need to get that paint to transfer on. Okay. I have a tendency to start off pretty light and then pick up and go heavier and heavier as I get across the board. I don't like to have a lot of stark lines like that. That's what happens when you push down too hard in one area. But I'm also going to show you how when we change the angle of the way that we go across that, we can kind of help cover that up a little bit. Remember, nothing is permanent. If you get an area that you really, you know, like if you really did not like that, that does not bother me that much. But if you really didn't like that, you could take your sponge and your blue paint and go back over that just a little bit. Okay, that's a big mark right there. However, I'm really not going to mind that once I start getting all my stars on here. So there's so much about this. You're not really creating a design right now as much as you're kind of distressing with this paint. So there's so much about this that is just up to your preference. I thought this was the perfect project to do the palette knife paint on, because when you think of the flag, you think of the fact that many times it's hung forever, you know, centuries. It's a little battered at times. The wind catches it, the rain catches it. So I kind of like the distressed look on the flag. Now, right now it's hard to see much of anything other than all this white gunk. But if you look real careful, you can start to see the score lines of the stars. That's where we're going to glue our white stars onto. Let me just set one down so you can see. So once all of our stars are on here, you're not going to notice a lot of those big stark lines. You're just going to see the distressing on the back of it. And again, you start and stop wherever you're comfortable. If you just want a tiny bit of this on there, that's fine. If you don't want any of the palette knifing on there, that's fine too. You can go in different directions. Okay. Now, I do happen to have a baby wipe here handy, and I'm going to show you that if you have a spot that you really don't like, you can try the baby wipe method first, like up here. You can try kind of wiping some of that off, depending on how dry it is. Mine is getting super dry. And see if you can get it off or get it toned down to how you want it. If not, pull out that blue sponge and paint a little bit more of that navy blue. Just kind of dab it over top of there and help it to like cover up your spot just a little bit till you get it back where you want it. Some people will go in with their hand and do some blending, like with their fingers or such. I'm not a big, I will hand blend when I'm doing some watercolors, but other than that, I'm not a big hand blender. I don't really like to get my hands dirty. So this is probably about all of the white distressing that I want on this piece. So I'm just going to take my baby wipe and wipe off the palette knife. That can be reused tons and tons and tons of times again in the future. Now, for today's purpose, we're done painting because we've already painted our white stars. We've done the navy blue. We've done our palette knife. So we can just go ahead and discard of that white paint because we are done for the day with the paint. Now, we're going to go ahead and glue our stars on so that those have time to set while we're ripping our fabric. So I do put score lines in any boards that I can fit them in for you, just to make it easier to put them on. So this board does have score lines for where the stars go. And I'm just going to start setting my stars on here. And then I'll come back with my glue and secure them down. You guys get wood glue in your kit. If you like wood glue, use that. If you like super glue, feel free to use that. Doesn't it give it a whole different look once you add the stars on? I love that. So now it's got like kind of that oceany marble look behind it, which I absolutely adore. So this is the one that I did before, and this is the one that I did today, and I feel like they both are so unique in their coloring and how it looks. This to me just looks like the ocean, and I love that. So if you love wood glue, use it. If you love your super glue, use it. Sometimes you guys will ask me about the glue that I use every day. I use Stick Fast Thick This is available on Amazon. These are about $14 a bottle, but they'll last you project after project after project. These do stick very fast. It's a very hard, secure stick, I guess you would say. So for me, who I'm doing, you know, tons and tons and tons of projects a day, this works out well for me. If you're interested in picking this up, let me know and I'll give you the link on Amazon. Otherwise, I do supply you with that wood glue, and then you just let me know when you need more and I refill it. So, okay, we're just going to stick down our stars. You don't need a whole lot of glue on these. Just a little bit at those high and low points. Set it on your score marks. Press down slightly and it will secure. After we get these glued down, we are going to do the part of the project that everybody loves, where we rip our fabric. I thought about using ribbon on this, but I just love the look and feel of torn fabric. It has the frayed edges. There's a ton of variety that you can get, but it also just, you know, fabric. I bought 100% cotton fabric. So when I look at this project, I think of obviously our flag, America. When you think of made in America, doesn't things that are made with 100% cotton just like jump out at you? I love the fact that these are, again, frayed, kind of representing what our flag has been through. You could use as many different patterns as you want. I just chose to go with one pattern, one solid. And I wanted to use the reds to offset the blue and the white on the actual signboard. Now, the two techniques that you're learning today, that palette knife paint and also the fabric, these can be used for project after project after project. Any project that I send to you as part of our monthly nesting box, you could add the palette knife paint on top of it as a distressing technique. Just because it's not something that I maybe assigned to that project certainly doesn't mean that you couldn't add that in as an element. When I'm picking the projects, I'm trying to pick things that I can let you do that are easy enough that they're not frustrating, but also let you learn a new skill along with it that you can build on and do in the future. Let me get a drink really quick. I have been filming all day and I feel like I'm super parched. So, okay, this is glued on. I just can't get over that. The blue with the white. Does that not just look like the ocean? I love it. So let's go ahead and set this off to the side and pull out your fabric. Now, this is a process that you can use. You can make rag bows with torn strips of fabric like this. You don't need a lot of fabric to do this. You could do this with flannel shirts, any kind of 100% cotton works really good, but as long as it's a lightweight fabric, you can do this with anything, and you don't need a lot of fabric to create several strips. So let me show you what I do. Because I didn't know if you guys would have good fabric scissors, I went ahead and I cut notches in the bottom of the fabric. Do you see this? Just about an inch up. If you were doing this yourself, just grab some fabric to whatever length you want, get some scissors, and just cut that notch in there all the way across. I go about an inch into the fabric and maybe an inch across. But I went ahead and cut those in for you because I wasn't sure how many of you had really good scissors at home. From there, this is so stress relieving and so unbelievably easy. Okay, see where these notches are? All you're gonna do, grab one, get a good grip on the fabric, separate, rip and pull. It's unbelievable how fabric pulls almost perfect all the way down through. Isn't that cool? We have a strip of fabric. And it's like really an unbelievable stress reliever. When you've had a bad day, start ripping fabric, friends. So we're going to rip this all the way through till we have all of this piece of fabric done. Then we're going to go to our red fabric, do the exact same thing. Okay. All of our pattern fabric is done. Now, I will warn you that when you rip fabric, you will have all kinds of strings like this. So you might want to do it in an area that you can easily clean up. Otherwise, especially maybe not in a carpeted area, because I promise you, you'll be finding strings of fabric all over your carpet forever. Same thing with the red. They're already notched. Now, at Christmas time, grab like an eighth of a yard or a quarter of a yard of all those cute Christmas fabrics. Wrap. This is one of my favorite things if you want like that rustic look of Christmas. Wrap your gifts in brown paper and then tie cute fabric bows on top of them. You're just kind of mixing the paper with the fabric, and it's kind of like I do in my house. I mix woods and metals and all kinds of things, fabrics and textiles of all different kinds, just to give that, you don't want everything to be the same, right? So you can decorate with these strips at Christmas. You can tie these on the end of your Christmas tree and just have all kinds of like little fabric bows. You can tie them on your gifts. If you're baking for people, use fabric strips to tie a little bow on the top of it. If you're making sugar scrubs, tie a little bow around your mason jar with a fabric strip. This is the cheapest, easiest way to dress up any project. Because yes, some fabrics are really expensive, but you can buy so many fabrics in the discount section and you don't need much at all. Like if all they have is a few little squares, get those squares and you'll be able to do all kinds of things with them. So, okay, what I've done now is I've got two piles of ripped fabric, and I'm going to go ahead and just divide them, one on one side and one on the other. Pull back out my backer board. This little thing at the bottom, you can tell that this was created just for tying these things on. I'm going to start with red. I'm going to fold my strip in half, okay? I have to think about, I think, did I go up? No, I didn't. I went back through. Okay, fold your strip in half. Take your little loop at the top, feed it through. No, I didn't. Okay, pull it up through the back. I have to think about how I put this through. Put your bottom tails Okay, guys, one more time. We're gonna go through the front. I have to always think about the way that I want it to look. Do I want the tails coming up over the top? Okay, so feed it through the back. So you've got your loop here, your tails here. Pull your tails through. That's what I wanted it to do. And then I scrunch it over. And you have to kind of work it a little bit until you can get it tight because that is the wood. Okay? So there's one on there. Let's tie a few more while we're on the video. And then I'm going to go back and show you the finished one. You don't need to watch me tie every single one of them. And on this fabric, this is a one-sided fabric, but honestly, it shows through so much on the opposite side that I don't even worry about these one-sided fabrics. Okay, so we've got our loop. So loop end here, tail end here. Put the tails through the loop. Tighten it up. Put the loop through the top. Pull the tails through. Sometimes you get some thicker pieces. This looks like it's one of the thicker ones. And so you just gotta, if it gets thick like that, you just gotta keep scrunching it up and pulling gently until you get it nice and tight. I guess it's kind of like tying a tie. And then you'll find that as you go through and add these on, you're going to keep like moving them over because we have a lot of ties to put on. I'm going to do one more. And then I will show you how all the finished ones look again. And I'll let you keep working on your project. So fold it in half, get your little loop, push it through. Pull your tails through your loop so your tails are going down, your loop is at the top. Pull them tight, scrunch them over. Okay, so can you see how this is starting to take shape? And you're going to keep doing this all the way across, just alternating your colors. And again, this is your finished board. Don't these look so pretty? I love the way these look. Now, for your hanger at the top, you've got jute with your board. You're going to take your jute, put it through the hole from the back. Now these holes were pretty significantly sized. In the future, I'll cut those down a little bit because they're pretty big. Pull out a good little bit of your jute and tie a knot. And the reason I'm telling you to pull out a good little bit is you probably need to do a triple knot to get this knot big enough that it's not going to go through the hole. Okay, so there's one. Now just tie another one on top of it right in the same spot. There's two. One more on top right in the same spot. There's three. Test it, make sure that it's strong enough. That will be just fine. Trim off the edge. And then you're going to pull the other side through and do the exact same thing over here. One, two, three. We always try to send enough jute that you're going to have plenty of room to make your hanger long or short, depending on where you need to hang it from. So I'm going to keep tying on my ribbons here. Make sure that when you guys are done, you take a pic of your finished product and put it on our page. Remember, we're going to reopen the nesting box in August. If you know of anyone who would like to join, please have them get in contact with me. If you've been with us for a while and would like to leave us a testimonial about your experience with the nesting box, those help us advertise when we reopen for new subscribers. I would love, love, love to have that. If you would just send those to me in a DM on Facebook or Instagram, then I will get those typed up and posted to the page, and that helps us advertise our business and helps us to grow. Thank you guys so much for joining us today, and remember, we want to see those finished projects as soon as they're done. Have a great day.